On everyone. The Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving experiment has not worked for Brooklyn in the success that they had hoped when originally going to the Brooklyn Nets. And now it looks like Kyrie Irving may be on his way out. And whether he goes to the Lakers or he goes to another team, it is being rumored and speculated that Kevin Durant very likely may want to leave as well via trade. So the big question is, where would Kevin Durant go? He's not going to go to just any team. He's going to go to a team where he feels he can contend. He's going to go to a team where he feels like he is that missing link to win a championship. And there will be plenty of teams, believe me, that are trying to give up whatever it takes to go get Kevin Durant. Because even at his age, he is still one of the top three, at worst case, players in the NBA. You can make an argument that he's still the best player in the NBA. And so that kind of talent level, any team he goes to is immediately going to be in a discussion for a contender. So one team that comes to mind that I haven't really seen many people talk about as far as Kevin Durant going to this team would be the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, at first glance, just think about Giannis and Kevin Durant on the same team. I mean, talk about a matchup nightmare. You got the inside-out game between the two of them. You got guys that could play multiple positions, two guys that are 7 feet, that can handle the ball like a guard, can get to the hoop, can knock down shots. Giannis's shot is improving. I mean, he was a lot more efficient this past year than he was in previous years, and he's continuing to work every day. He's still young. He's already won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, and at some point, you got to imagine that they're going to want to shake things up, especially if it means getting a guy like Kevin Durant. You have these two guys on your team, talking two of the best, if in contention for the best player in the entire league. How do you go wrong, right? You do whatever it takes to go get a Kevin Durant to pair with a Giannis. And that would just be a nightmare. I mean, imagine trying to guard and having to, run defensive schemes to stop both of them. It's hard enough to stop just KD or just Giannis. Now put both of them together. I mean, you're talking about a ridiculous type of matchup nightmare, unlike anything we may have ever seen. And so what type of trade would have to go into this, right? Well, first off, I mean, just think of the pairing with Middleton and Giannis, right? I mean, even the two of them. Middleton has been that number two guy. He has been that guy that has been hugely successful for the Milwaukee Bucks, can play defense, can knock down shots, can do a lot. But Middleton is really inconsistent at times, right? So that would be your inherent package, very likely. But with Giannis and Middleton as that 1-2 punch, they, to this day, could have been in the NBA Finals, right? I mean, they likely would have beaten the Boston Celtics if Middleton never got hurt. I mean, they forced a Game 7 without Middleton. Now, if Middleton would have played, I don't even think that series would have went to 7. I think Milwaukee would have very likely just disposed of the Boston Celtics rather quickly. I do think Boston would have won at least 1 or 2 games, but I wouldn't have been surprised if this was a 5 to 6 game series with Middleton, just because, like I said, I mean, you have these two guys that can do everything, can guard multiple positions, can switch and play multiple positions. All of those things really are beneficial for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, if you're swapping Middleton for Kevin Durant, I mean, come on, that is insane. And Kevin Durant is a lot more consistent on the offensive end. But people may be thinking, well, Middleton, you're losing defense, right? Kevin Durant is still a great defender, and he's still 7 feet. The problem is that on the Brooklyn Nets, he has to be a guy that does everything. So he can't put too much energy into defense because he has to score 30 a game for them to win. But we saw the type of defense he could play when he was on the Golden State Warriors, when he didn't need to score 30 night in and night out for the team to actually win. So that could be the same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. He very well could buy into the defensive schemes. Not just that, you have a great coach that is going to just get the most out of Kevin Durant. And we saw how well Kevin Durant has worked with the Golden State Warriors. It would make sense that he would work well with the Milwaukee Bucks. But very likely you're going to have to give up more than just Middleton. So if you're talking this type of trade, you're probably looking at something along the lines of Drew Holiday and Middleton for like a Kevin Durant, maybe like a Patty Mills, or maybe you can get like a Joe Harris, something along those lines. There's going to be more pieces. I don't think it's going to be a straight Middleton for Kevin Durant swap. You're likely going to have to give up, some draft picks, things like that. And I get it. What Drew Holiday does for this team is more than just scoring. I mean, he is the engine. He is arguably the best on-ball defender in the league, stuff like that. But you have a chance to make Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis, a pairing, I think you do whatever it takes to get that done. You're not losing anything in production wise. Yes, your defense, but Milwaukee has always been that team defense structure, right? They use their defense as a core group rather than just individuals. Yes, they do have such great individual defenders, but they do it within the scheme of things. And so you can go get, at that point, when you have Kevin Durant and Giannis, you can go get whoever you can go get some wings or something along those lines in free agency to kind of pair with these guys. Maybe go get a Tucker or, try to get him back, or try to go get a Porter Jr., something like that to kind of supplement that. I just think whatever you can do to get both of these guys on the same team, you do it, even if it means losing Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. I think realistically, Kevin Durant and Giannis together are enough to win you a championship. At least one, if not multiple. You're clearing off cap. You're getting rid of a lot of things that you need. Maybe you can get some pieces. You work it out. You figure out how to do it. I mean, if they can find a way to keep Drew Holiday, then keep Drew Holiday. But they don't have a ton of young assets that they could give up to go get a Kevin Durant. And I don't think Middleton by itself goes and gets you a Kevin Durant. Now, if you can, if you can do, Middleton and several draft picks, then yeah, absolutely. Go do that immediately. And maybe the Brooklyn Nets might look at that and go, okay, well, we'd have Chris Middleton, we'd have a bunch of young guys around, we could kind of unload Kyrie Irving, stuff like that. But I just don't know what you supplement in replace of Drew Holiday. I just don't think they I mean, maybe you could give up Middleton and, Pat Connaughton. Okay. I just don't think that is something that the Brooklyn Nets would be jumping towards. But a Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, I think Brooklyn's still competitive. They still have a lot of pieces. They still have a lot of things that they could kind of use to build around these guys. You kind of got your KD and Kyrie light. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as good, but it might be. You might be better defensively. These guys now become the number 1 and number 2 options rather than the number 2 and number 3 options. So maybe that you get more production. The question's always been what can Middleton be without being the number 1 guy? And we've seen sample sizes of it, and he's shown he can be a guy that consistently can go get you 25 to 30 if he has to. He doesn't really have to on the Bucks. And he is such a key factor for the team. But I just think whatever it takes to get these two on the same roster, you do it. Kevin Durant, if he says, I want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks, I want to play with Giannis, you make that happen, and then you figure out the rest. You still have, even if you gave up Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, you still have enough to be a really good team. You still have Brook Lopez. You still have Bobby Portis. You still have Wes Matthews, Serge Ibaka. You still have all of these guys that are a key, components to your team. And yeah, you're losing Middleton and Drew Holiday, but I'm sure that they could come up with guys that would want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks because you have Giannis and KD on your team. You're probably going to win a championship or at least be pretty close. They're arguably the best team in the NBA with just these two guys, not counting anything else. And like I said, you still have Brook Lopez. You still have Bobby Portis. You still have guys that can do multiple things and kind of fill in those holes. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think if you can get Kevin Durant to pair with Giannis, whatever it takes, if you have to give up, Drew and you have to give up Chris, you do it. As much as it would be painful, as much as it would suck, you got to make it happen because you're very likely contending for a championship. Or do you think, no, this team's good enough to win another championship? This team likely would have been in the finals and maybe even won it? Because I do think Milwaukee, if they would have played the Golden State Warriors, they matched up so much better. And they would have been such a matchup nightmare for the Warriors. I understand the argument. The Milwaukee Bucks were a Chris Middleton away from winning their second championship. And I do think that is a realistic thing. But a lot of teams are going to be better next year. A lot of changes are very likely going to happen in the NBA. And I just think, if Milwaukee can, you go do that. And you go get arguably the best player in the world to add with the other arguably best player in the world. and you hope those two are enough, which they should be. I mean, again, who's guarding this team? Who's going to stop Kevin Durant and Giannis? Because now you can't just build a wall. Like, that was the whole defensive scheme, right? You build a wall and you try to make other guys beat you, and you hope Giannis. Well, now you can't do that because you got Kevin Durant who can knock it down from anywhere on the floor. So it becomes impossible for defenses. So I just think that, if these two are healthy going into the playoffs, who beats them in a 7-game series? Especially in the East, I don't think anybody beats these two in the Eastern Conference, regardless of who else is around them. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.